Yeah, man!
Hello, my name is Miguel, and today I'm gonna make for you meatballs tomato stew. Visit JamaicaDinners.com for the recipe. So you're gonna need about half pound of minced meat. If you can get grounded beef, it's best. Minced meat is mixed with fat and all that stuff, and it's not so flavorful. You need 6 ripe plummy tomato, a half scotch bonnet pepper, or you can use half teaspoon red pepper or quarter teaspoon. 4 between 5 garlic cloves, a stalk of scallion, an onion, and medium-sized onion, a teaspoon of grinded rosemary, a tablespoon of parsley, dried parsley, along with a tablespoon of dried basil. Teaspoon of marjoram, half teaspoon oregano, half teaspoon dried pimento berries, which is optional, 2 whole cloves, 1 tablespoon white vinegar or wine vinegar, but we're using wine vinegar today, a tablespoon of salt, sea salt. I use sea salt, and a tablespoon of sea salt. Alright, I'm going to start gathering our ingredients. I'm going to put all our ingredients in one place. So number 1 on the list is rosemary. Grind fine 1 teaspoon rosemary. Any of these herbs, you can use them fresh, chop it fine. Excuse me there, my camera sliding off. One tablespoon parsley. One tablespoon basil. Half teaspoon oregano. Or quarter, you can use quarter teaspoon too as well, because oregano is strong. 1 teaspoon marjoram. Keep herbs together and keep spices together. Now find 2 whole cloves, put aside, half teaspoon dried pimento berries with the whole clove. Keep spices together. Keep your dried spices together. My hand's slipping from the knife. The knife is wet, so it's making my hands slip. That's why I'm trying these knife off right now. Alright, so garlic. Peel garlic, cut off ends, trim spoilage. I like to cut the onion in half. It's easier to handle. Remove the brown leaf. The first layer of the onion is the strongest. If you can save it, do so. The scallion. Remove dying leaves. Cut off the tip of the leaf that's dying and the root end. Now, get a bowl, add some water. Drizzle several drops distilled white vinegar into the water. Wash the garlics first. Now, use your finger and rub the scallion's leaf clean. You saw me just wash the pepper. Next, wash tomatoes clean. I like to use my finger and rub the tomatoes clean. Wash tomatoes properly. After that, remove that water, add fresh water and give it a final rinse. It's best if you do this part on the running water. Look at that. This tomatoes don't look right at all. This one look healthy. Something. This don't look that healthy. I'm not gonna use this one. I'm throwing this out. And see, while you're preparing your tomatoes, look for spoilage. Alright, so I'm replacing this spoiled tomato with a good one. Do as you see me doing and wash and prepare your vegetables properly. It's best if you do this part on the running water. I'm just gonna give these vegetables a final rinse. My next step, dicing, chopping and slicing. I'm starting with the scallion. Dice scallion fine. Do as you see me doing. Cut onion in slices, or you can dice it too for this meal. Oh yes, I forget. Oh yes, I'm happy I remember. We're gonna definitely need piece ginger. cut 1/4 inch piece ginger, kind of clean it off, clean off the third part. If you can, leave the skin on and wash it properly. A lot of minerals are in the skin. Alright, so that's our piece ginger. Next, grind garlic to puree or mash it to pulp. Now, keep vegetables separate in one place. Alright, now that one place is that bowl that you see me placing them in right now. It's my piece of ginger. I keep it on the plate with the herbs. I'm gonna get rid of this garlic, this grinded garlic, put it along with my herbs. Now, cut the stem part from the tomato. Cut off tomato's stem. Next, cut or chop tomatoes in 1/8. Do as you see me doing. I cut it in quarters, cut it in half, then quarters, then 1/8. While you're cutting, look for spoilage. And the riper the tomato, the better it is for this meal. If you're against using the tomato's skin, you can always remove it by dipping it in hot water and then cold water. Skin come off easy. Alright, so gather your chopped tomatoes in a bowl. Now, the pepper. I'm not cutting anything else, so now I can cut the pepper. This is a hot pepper. If your fingers touch it and you rub your eyes, it's gonna burn you. So try not to touch the inside of the pepper. You can touch the skin anytime and it won't do anything. Now we're gonna roll meatballs. Next, get a bowl that you marinate meat in. Measure a tablespoon of salt. I use sea salt. Put half the tablespoon of salt aside for later and add half of that same tablespoon of salt in the bowl. Now add your minced meat. If you get minced grounded beef, it's best. Minced meat is mixed with fat, collagen, and whatever else they put in it. Sometimes the flavor of it is not that lovely, but if you get minced meat, beef, minced beef, where they mince just the meat, it's best. Kind of massage the salt in your minced meat. Now, break off a little piece and roll it between your fingers, between your hands and your fingers, and make meatballs. While rolling, kind of compress it somewhat, keeping the ball together and firm. What I'm doing now is separating pieces so I can have even sized meatballs. Do as you see me doing and make meatballs. Don't add flour to your meatballs. Don't add starch, just the pure grounded. Don't add flour, don't add cornstarch. That's what I said. I thought I said salt. But cornstarch you shouldn't add. It's not necessary. This is what you want. I got 2, 4, 6, 8 meatballs from this package. Supermarkets sell ready-made meatballs, uncooked meatballs, so you can buy those as well. So this is the ingredients we're using today. So chopped onions, chopped scallion, herbs, herbal, salt, half scotch bonnet pepper, piece ginger, grinded garlic, old clove and pimento berries, spices, meatballs, chopped tomatoes. Get your ingredients ready for cooking. Now, put to heat a saucepan. I'm using a medium-sized saucepan. Alright, you notice I'm using a paper towel to dry out the saucepan. I'm doing this because I'm going to add oil now. I'm going to keep the stove's gauge on low. I'm going to add the spices to the heating oil and allow the heating oil to get the flavor of the spices, from the spices. That way, when I serve this meal, you don't have to worry about taking out any berries or spices while eating. Now, do as you see me doing, measure half of quarter cup cooking oil. I use coconut oil. That's 4 tablespoons of cooking oil. Now add your spices, the dried pimento berries and the old clove to the heating oil. The stove's gauge is on low. The stove's gauge is on low, reduces the risk of bursting. Reducing the risk of the berries bursting. Alright, it's been 5 minutes now. I can smell the aroma of the burning dried pimento berries and the old clove. Now would be a good time to remove them from the heating oil. So do as you see me doing, use a big cooking spoon and remove the spices from the heating oil. Now add your piece ginger and your chopped. Oh no, I'm forgetting that I'm doing meatballs today. I forgot that I'm doing something different. Alright, so back up. Before adding your chopped onions, Keep the piece ginger in the eating oil. Add your meatballs to the eating oil. Alright. I didn't use plenty oil because I want the grease from the meat leak into the saucepan, adding additional oil. If you notice, I don't have that much oil in the pan. See, the oil is a little bit. Allow. Stove gauge is on 4, medium low, allow. See, there's not much oil in the saucepan. That's what we want. You want to add like 2 tablespoons or so if the oil actually dry out. If the oil dried out, it's the only way. Because I put the onions in earlier, it probably suck up some of the oil from that. Alright, allow it to fry before you'll be able to move. After 2 between 3 minutes, just kind of use a fork and go through and carefully rotate each meatball on the other side. While doing so, you see, it's when you flip it and it sticks to the side of the pan, you have to let it stay, because if you try to move it, it's gonna break it. So when you flip it, and if the raw meat touch the side of the pan that doesn't have any oil, it's gonna stick. So you gotta let it stay. It will be okay. Allow. See, it's not much oil. My objective is to get the flavor from the oil from the meat to seep into the stew. After between 5 minutes, this is what it looks like. Now your meatballs are easier to move and handle. They're set. They're not gonna break apart. So you just use a cooking spoon and rotate your meatballs. While rotating, fit each meatball on a spot where it's not cooking. Try and rotate your meatballs to a spot on the pot's bottom, to a spot where it's not cooking on the pot's bottom. Alright, so go through, check your meatballs, see what's cooking faster than the other, and rotate it accordingly. Alright, that was 8 minutes now. It's 8 minutes now. If the oil is drying out too much, you can always add more. Now you can add the chopped onions. Alright. Stir it in, stir it in. Stir it in a few times and kind of shuffle the onions to the pot's bottom and allow it to saute. And add the chopped scallion as well. And to know if you're to be sure your meatballs is cooked properly, all you need to do is to just take one, cut it in half, and see and look in the inside. If it's meat or raw in the inside, it's not cooked. If it's cooked like this, it's cooked. So gauge is on 4. Now, next add half of the herbal. The different herbs put together is called a herbal. So add half of the herbal, stir it in a few times. Now would be a good time. Now turn the stove gauge on low. You add the herbs and stir it in, coating the meatballs evenly with sauteed onions and herbs. Now do as you see me doing and remove the cooked meatballs. Next, add your chopped tomatoes. Turn the stove back up on 4, medium low. Now stir in your chopped tomatoes with the sauteed onions. Add the other half herbal along with the other half salt to your stew. Stir it in, stir it in. After that, measure and add 1 tablespoon wine vinegar. You can use distilled white vinegar instead. Stir it in a few times. This part, you have to allow it to stay and cook. Allow the chopped plummy tomato in the saucepan with the other ingredients to stay and cook for a minute between 2. Stove gauge is on 4, medium low. Get your water ready. Leave the lid off. After 2 minutes, this is what it looks like. Stir it in a few times. Now, measure and add half cup water. This cooking spoon that I'm using measures 1/4 cup. Stir in, add the pepper, stir in. Use the saucepan's lid. Cover the saucepan properly. Stove gauge is on 4, medium low. Allow. If you can, cover your meatballs in the meantime. 3 minutes later, since stewing, this is what it looks like. Stir your pot in. Now would be a good time to remove the Scotch bonnet pepper. You don't want this meat to be spicy. If you like spicy food, you can always keep it in. I can smell the aroma of the pepper. Alright, put the lid back on. Allow. These are cooked meatballs. 5 between 6 minutes. Now, this is what it looks like. The stew is sticking to the pot's bottom. That's my cue to say it's on the right track. The gravy is thick enough, or the stew is thick enough. You can see it's starting to stick to the pot's bottom. See? So that's it. Finish. Turn it off. If you want to thicken it some more, you can always stir the stove up for a few seconds and then turn it off. Alright, now add your cooked meatballs and stir it in, coating your meatballs with that delicious tomato stew. That's it. It's best served within the time. It's best served within the time. Before serving, stir your pot in, moist up the meatballs so that they don't look dry. Alright, so take a scoop of this delicious meatballs tomato stew and lay it on whatever you decide to eat it with. I'm having it today with spaghetti. You can have this meal with vegetables, rice probably, and any pasta, any long pasta. This is Meatballs Tomato Stew. Visit JamaicaDinners.com for the recipe. Subscribe, like, share. You should try. You must cook this meal yourself. Give us feedback when you do. Meatballs Tomato Stew. This meal is delicious with spaghetti. Meatballs Tomato Stew. Right. The best parts of waiting. Alright, the best part of waiting for a meal. So I'm just going to taste it before I add my Parmesan. The sauce is tangy as usual. Now with a long spaghetti I can grip it better. The meatballs is cooked. I'm going to sprinkle powdered cheese on my meatballs tomato stew. It's delicious. It's a unique meal, delicious. The sauce, the stews taste like as a familiar flavor to tomato sauce, but it's not sweet. This is tomato stew. The meatballs is boring because I bought grounded mince meat. Mince meat, they mix up all parts of the cow to make mince meat. If it was grounded beef, it would have been better. But overall, this meal is delicious. I'm liking the spaghetti with the tomato stew. The cheese combine everything together so it's easier to hold. It's tangy, not that much. It's just one perfect blend. It's not over tangy. This is not this meal. I've done other meals like this and it's much more tangy. Oh, the ones where I use the ketchup probably. Alright, it's as flavorful as how it looks. It's rich in flavor. The herbs blend lovely with this meatballs tomato stew. And this is not a Jamaican meal. It's not a Jamaican meal. However, we have foreigners, we have travelers. So travelers introduce this meal to some Jamaicans who knows about it. Meaning tomato sauce meals or tomato with spaghetti meals. Alright, so you see me enjoying this meatballs tomato stew with spaghetti. Oh yes, I'm happy I remember. You can always do this mince. Instead of making meatballs, you could have done this with the mince. So you add the mince to the heating oil and stir it in, stir it in. It's gonna cook faster. Once it's cooked like in 2-3 minutes or so, then you add the chopped onions with the scallion and stir it in, and then you would have added the herbs with the salt and stir it in. But you wouldn't take anything out. You would have just added tomato to it and then break that down. I'll probably do a video like this. If I get a good response from this video, I'll make that video. So you would just stir it in, and then make the tomatoes cook, and then you add the water, and then you put the lid on, and then you allow it to cook down, and then you finish. Alright guys, bye until next time. Yeah man!